Fighting Skills podcast. I'm here with Ruben, Rivera, father, husband, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu black belt, 10th Planet Dallas gym owner. How is this coronavirus affecting business right now?
Oh man, yeah. Thanks for having me, man. It's crazy, dude. I'm sure that all jujitsu gyms across the country are closed at this point. I can't think of a single one that's open, and so every 10th Planet gym is closed for sure. I think the last I heard was today. They said that Russia, 10th Planet Russia, or Krasnodar, or I don't know how to pronounce it, that they had closed. So I think they were like one of the last ones that was still standing, but everybody else is closed, man. And so yeah, it's definitely it definitely sucks because we can't train. First and foremost, I think a lot of us are just so used to training. I mean, I've been training for 12 years now, and it's such a integral part of my life. But as far as business goes, yeah, man, it just can't be good. I was lucky enough, I should say I'm blessed enough that I hadn't signed my lease yet. I was in communication with a leasing agent, a property manager, I should say, for 10th Planet Dallas for the space we were looking at. And so, we were just going back and forth with numbers and trying to figure out how many years and prices. And, there's a whole lot to it. Commercial leases are quite complicated. And it just turns out that we were trying to sign at the beginning of March, and then they go, oh no, we're going to go on spring break. So we'll talk to you a week after spring break or whatever, when we get back to our office. Cause I guess they took like a little mini vacation or something. And then this whole thing happened, and then the whole world like shut down. So it was almost like, for me, I thought it was meant to be, you know what I mean? I wasn't meant to sign that lease, because if I had, I'd be paying rent right now with not a single student. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so now I get to wait. Now I get to wait until this whole thing blows over, and then I'll open up my spot. So it's pretty wild, man.
Is the aim still 10th Planet Dallas? Do you want to open a gym there, or are you rethinking and thinking of taking the location somewhere else?
No, as of right now, it's still definitely. I'm still looking at 10th Planet Dallas. I mean, I still have I have a place over there and everything. So I'm definitely still thinking 10th Planet Dallas. But I mean, who knows, man? I'm saying that based on the idea that things are gonna get better. You see what I mean? Like, but I can't guarantee it. I don't think anybody really knows what the extent of the damage of this virus is. If you think about it, the way I look at it is it's like a tornado or something, right? Like we can't even assess the damage yet, because we're in the middle of the tornado still. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
we got to wait till the tornado passes and fades away for us to like walk around and go, whoa, look at everything that got destroyed. You see what I mean? Like, we can't even assess the damage that this is doing to the economy right now. And so it's really just a matter of waiting and seeing what happens.
You think we're looking at an economy collapse?
Oh man, I think that's a tough question. That's a big question. I think that of course we'd all like to say I think we'd all like to think that that's not going to happen. That would be terrible for all of us. But the way things are looking, man, I mean, there's no telling. Like I said, there's no telling. I mean, the economy is shut down right now, essentially, right? Nobody, not nobody, but the vast majority aren't allowed to work or aren't allowed to move as they used to. And so money is at a halt. Business is at a halt. And so it's like, how long can we keep this going for? How many months can this realistically go for? Before things start to get really bad.
Well,
So there's just no telling.
Yeah, Donald Trump is saying that he's going to send out $1,000, $1,500 checks for citizens that qualify for it. Do you think that that's going to be enough? And how long do you think this lockdown's going to be? Because they're saying 2 weeks. Some people are saying a month to 2 months. Some news articles are saying up to 18 months. How long do you think this lockdown's going to be for?
Man, I don't know, dude. I mean, the thing is like, I think it's like 1,200. I think I read it's $1,200 for a single person plus $500 for babies or kids, I should say, and then like $2,400 for couples or something. So I don't understand how that is. I don't know if it's like 1,200 per person and then 500 for the baby, and that's only for people that make less than 75,000. And then I think you have to make less than 150,000 combined to qualify for the 2,400. And so it's something that looks more like that. And so to answer your question about like, is it enough? Absolutely not, man. Absolutely not. You know, that's I mean that's like measly. That's a measly amount of money. Of course, it might sound nice, right, to go, hey, I'm gonna get $1,000 or whatever. But the reality of the matter is that how long are you supposed to survive on that for? You know what I mean? Like if your work has come to a halt, or if you're not receiving unemployment, like here's what people don't understand as far as jiu-jitsu gyms go, is it's like you are your own boss. You pay yourself, and a lot of times these guys, I don't know. I don't know. Some guys are, some guys aren't. Everybody does it differently. You know, I can't speak for everybody and how they do their taxes and whatever. But some of these guys, they don't qualify for unemployment, and they might not even qualify for those $1,200, depending on how they show they're paying themselves or not. And so it's really just going to come down to how people have structured their businesses as far as jiu-jitsu goes. And this can, my point is this can be really bad for some people because they're not going to be able to qualify for those $1,200 or those $2,400 or whatever it is. And they still got to pay their leases, and they still got to pay their bills and so on and so forth. And then their students are canceling on them. And it's wild, man. Like I said, I think we're going to see some gyms close down for sure. If this doesn't start up by next month, I think a lot of people are going to really start to freak out. And you know, the stimulus package at the end of the day, yeah, we're going to get $1,200 each or whatever, but it doesn't add up to much, you know, if you do the math, because it's $2 trillion. I don't think that people really understand how much money $2 trillion is. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it doesn't even like I don't think that people can really understand how much money that is. And even if every citizen in the United States, which I think is like 350 million people worth here, got those $1,200, let's just say everybody got it, right? Every single person got it. It still, I don't even think would add up to $1 trillion. Like I don't even think I don't even think that's what it would add up to. I don't even think it would be close to that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think it would be in the billions, if at all. They might not even get to a billion. I don't know. I can't. I'd have to do the math. But my point is that bailout isn't for us. That stimulus package isn't really for us. Yeah, they're going to give us a little something, a little measly something of our own money, right? Those are our taxes, right? They're going to give us a little bit back of our own taxes. But
Right.
at the end of the day, that stimulus package is for big corporations. That stimulus package is for other businesses. They say that they're small business too. Like you can qualify for like small business loans to keep your business afloat, you know, that are forgivable, is what they said, you know. And then I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, so you go, hey, you know what? The government is going to let me borrow $20,000 so I can stay afloat, but it's forgivable. It could be forgivable. Like, what does that even mean? Like I can't pay it and then they forgive me the loan. Like, do I have to qualify for bankruptcy or something? Like, what are the details on that? And we don't really know. You know what I mean? But my point with all of this is I personally think this is gonna be really bad, man. It's gonna be really bad for a lot of business owners if we don't get to start doing business again soon. You know, well for me, like I said, I'm you know, fortunate enough that I get to wait. You know, I get to wait and hopefully start my business when this whole thing gets better. But for those guys who just started their businesses, or for those guys who have their businesses right now, man, because I know, you know, I've been talking to a lot of business owners, listening to what they have to say, and they're freaking out, man. People are freaking out. You know, they're worried for sure. And you know what the other thing that's really funny is, you know, we have, you know, there's always this left versus right, right? Democrats versus Republicans, this false paradigm that doesn't really exist. But that's for another conversation. But the point is that, you know, like you hear a lot of talk right now about socialism versus capitalism, and you know, essentially, like we could say, like in a nutshell, you know, Republicans are more for capitalism, and Democrats allegedly call more for socialism, right? That's the accusation usually, or whatever. I don't know. It's probably more complicated than that. But my point is that even people who advocate against socialism, who are just like Bernie Sanders is a socialist, and Bernie Sanders wants free healthcare, and that doesn't make any sense, and blah blah blah. But a lot of these guys are actually calling for socialism right now. A lot of people who are in trouble, a lot of these business owners who are just like, man, I can't pay my bills, are like, government, help me out. You know what I mean? Like they're like petitioning for the government to help them out and bail them out and this and that. And it's just like that's socialism. You see what I mean? Like that's like expecting somebody to save you, and that's just not how it works. You see what I mean? And so it's crazy, man. Like the world got flipped upside down for sure, and yeah, man. I don't know how bad this whole thing is gonna get or not.
Let's say Ruben Rivera was president of the United States. How would you have handled this COVID-19 situation?
Oh man, dude, I mean, I don't even feel like I could speak on that, but let's just say like what's the word, yeah, like in an imaginary world, right? That I even had the qualifications or the know-how or whatever to manage a country. Yeah, man, I don't know, obviously I'd want to be as informed as possible, I'd want to be as informed as possible about the whole thing, and I'd want to obviously take action as soon as possible. I think that what people don't understand about this whole thing is how can I say this without you know
Say
there's
it
a lot of
however, yeah, say it however you want,
there's a
brother.
lot of there's a lot of misinformation, even I would say, even at the political level. I'm not going to say at the presidential level, because I'm not I it's hard, man, right? Obviously we have no idea what information goes in and out, right, at the presidential level, like what they know that we don't know, and so on and so forth. But I think that there's definitely a lot of misinformation. And I've kind of heard both sides of this whole thing, where like like I said, it in a nutshell, a lot of people are blaming Trump for not acting quickly enough. And then Trump defending himself and saying, like, I did act as quick as possible. Like, you guys called me racist for trying to close the borders on China, for calling it the China flu, or the, what did he call it? The
The
China,
Wuhan
whatever,
flu.
China virus,
Yeah, the
the
Wuhan flu.
China virus. Yeah, Kung flu. Some people are calling it. And he goes, you guys call me racist for basically trying to close off from China, because that was before they wanted to admit that that's where it was coming from. And even China, from what I understand, has been accused of grossly misrepresenting and handling the viral the situation with the virus. Like, they knew that it was bad, but they didn't want to admit that it was so bad. Does that make sense? Because it's like they don't want to be an embarrassment, right, to the global community. Does that make sense?
Oh
So
yeah.
they were trying to save face, and in the end, apparently they ended up screwing us all. You know what I mean? And so it's weird, man. It's really weird when you think about it like that. Like, where do you get your facts from? Like, for example, like, everybody's talking about the CDC and the WHO, the World Health Organization. I mean, what's crazy is that, like, for example, the CDC has been known to interchange people with the pharmaceutical companies. And so it's just like, wait a second. So there's a conflict of interest there. Does that make sense? Like, how can you have people that previously worked in the pharmaceutical industry start working at the World Health Organization? And how can you have people that used to work at the World Health Organization now working for the pharmaceutical industry? And so there's this weird thing happening. And so we don't really actually know what's going on when we have these things happening, when we have these conflicts of interest happening, right? Because it all comes down to money. You see what I mean? And we can start getting into even in deeper conspiracies per se, although that's not a conspiracy. Those are facts. I haven't shared any conspiracies so far. I've tried to remain as factual as I can. But yeah, man, if we kind of just touch on a very light conspiracy, it's the idea that, like, okay, create viruses and then sell the vaccines. You see what I mean? Like, it ends up being something like that. And then it ends up being something like, well, the more grossly, the more we inflate the numbers, the more we can scare people, and the more people will flock for the vaccine. because just like the H1N1, just like the swine flu, just like all the other flus that have come and gone, right? As soon as the vaccine comes out, people flock to their local Walgreens. People will flock to their local CVC, and they go, "Give me that, give me that." You see what I mean? And every time somebody goes and gets a vaccine, all the pharmaceutical industry here is cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm
So
not saying that this thing isn't real. 100%. I think this is real. This is a real pandemic that we're going through. But man, I don't know if you know, like there's been a couple of arrests and stuff. I think professor from Harvard and his two students, not Harvard, I'm sorry, MIT, and his two students got withheld for taking what are they called, vials of something to China with them, you know. And so there's just a lot of weirdness happening and then it's patented. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but COVID-19 is actually patented and owned by Bill Gates, by the Bill Gates Foundation. Like, it's super weird, man. Like, this whole thing is super weird, and to me, it just reeks of a terrorist attack. Like, to me, although when we think terrorists, we think of Afghanistan, right? As Americans, because of the propaganda that we were fed by the media for so long. When we think terrorists, we think of guys wearing turbans and holding AK-47s. But I'm talking about domestic terrorists. I'm talking about a domestic terror attack. Like, what if, right? Like 12 Monkeys. I don't know if you remember that movie. What if, like 12 Monkeys, a virus got created in a lab and was purposely put out into the world or put out into the country on purpose? You know, like what if that was true? You know what I mean? Like, and the thing is that it's starting to look that way, man. It's starting to look like that's actually what's happening right now. Like,
yeah,
this might actually be a terrorist attack.
yeah. The majority of the people are not going to see that because everyone's just going to be brainwashed by the media. But I get exactly what you're saying. You're basically saying, somebody makes a virus, some pigs get sick, other farmers come flocking for that cure, but it was basically an attack to make money off the farmers. So in a sense, they're using humans as cattle, and they're poisoning some to scare the rest into getting some vaccines so the pharmaceutical companies can make money because they're basically in the same bed with the CDC.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, it's even more complex than that. It would be simple, right? That would be like the simple version of it. But I think that there's so many facets to the whole thing that I think it's almost like they're trying to kill 10 birds with one stone. The one stone being COVID-19, but really, like you said, the pharmaceutical industry ends up making a ton of money. A lot of elderly people are gonna die, and that takes pressure off. I don't know, say the healthcare system in that way, or insurance companies. So insurance companies get to keep more of their money instead of paying it to these elderly people. I mean, that's another way we can look at it.
Wow.
And that was just off the top of my head. You see what I mean?
It's
Like, I
dark.
think that there's so many facets to this thing, and then we haven't even talked about it happening on 2020, right before the November elections. Like, how convenient is that, right? Like,
Yeah.
how crazy is that? You know, and it's wild, man. Like why is it? And I know this conspiracy has been going around the internet a lot, but it's true. If you actually look at the dates and if you look at the things, why is it that every time there's an election, there's the swine flu, there's SARS, there's do you remember the one? What was the one with the powder that was coming in the mail or whatever? You remember that one?
Oh yeah, the one. Yeah, yeah. I think it was called. I know exactly what you're talking about. The powder, when they would open the mail and the powder would shoot in your face.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody was freaking out about that,
And then the
right?
Ebola
Like,
virus, Ebola virus,
the Ebola, yeah, I forgot about Ebola. Yeah, all of those, right? And so it's just like I said, like, it's almost like
anthrax. It was called anthrax.
it was the anthrax. That's right. Yeah, and so that's what I mean. Like they're trying to kill all these different birds with one stone. You see what I mean? Like, because it affects everything. It affects everything. Like, this is so complex, you know, and it starts to make you wonder. You know what I mean? Like I said, with Bill Gates, one of the wealthiest men in the world, right? Um, uh, it makes you wonder, right? It makes you wonder what these people are up to, you know, when they go and they get together at the, I don't know, whatever, the G20 summit or the Bilderberg group, or whatever meeting that they have or whatever. Like, is this the type of stuff that they plan? And
It's
they go, hey, you're going to get money from this, and you're going to get money from this, and me, I'm going to make money like this, and blah, blah. And it's just like they plan these whole things, right, where they win and we lose, Is that what it's about? You know what I mean? Like they're extremely secretive. Like, is that what's going on behind closed doors? I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I don't know. And we may never know, but this whole thing just smells like I don't know, man. It just smells to me. It just smells like a terrorist attack, man. Like this is awful.
Could it be population control? And do you think
Oh yeah.
a massive part of the population might die?
I think that maybe that was their goal. I think that and this is a wild thing to say, but I think they were hoping a lot more people would die. But I think that it's not working as well as they would have liked to either. You know, um, but who knows, man? I mean, I say that, but at the end of the day, I don't really know because according to some people, we haven't even been hit uh, by it yet in the U.S. They're going. People in other countries are going. You guys are screwed. Like you guys are screwed. Like you guys have no idea what's coming. You know, like people in Italy, for example, or I read a message today from one of my friends. So a guy sent my friend a message, and then my friend shared that with all of us. And he was in Prague, and and that's in Europe. And he was saying, like, dude, like it's crazy out here in Prague. Like you can get fined $150,000 for not wearing a mask walking outside in Prague. And then he goes, and you can get 8 years of prison, no court, no nothing. If you've tested positive for coronavirus, you have to be quarantined at home. You have to be. And they go, and they'll even come check on you. Officials will come check to make sure you're at home. And if you're not at home, they go 8 years of prison right off the
Jesus.
bat. They go no court, no nothing. So I think what he was trying to say with all of this, as wild as these things sound, is they're really cracking down. Like they're really trying to make people like be considerate and like stay home. Like they're forcing people, like they're threatening them with jail time. They're threatening them and they might be empty threats. You know what I mean? But it shows you like the extent that some of these countries are going to make their citizens stay home and make them not spread the virus in their countries. Does that make sense? But in the U.S., we got so much freedom. You know what I mean? They go stay at home, and people are driving around and they're traveling and they're going to the grocery store and they're walking their dogs and they're jogging and they're this and they're that. You know what I mean? And it's just like, dude, like other countries are looking at us and they're going, you guys are screwed. Like you guys don't understand the severity of this situation.
That's insane. That's so true because other countries like Italy, I've seen them singing to each other from roof to roof and stuff like that. What the question I wanted to ask you was, do you know anybody with COVID-19 or somebody's friend of a friend that had COVID-19?
Like here was my thing. Um, one of my uncles, was supposed to come visit my parents, and so he calls them and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna come visit you guys and on such and such date." It was actually on spring break. Like I'm gonna come to spring break. I'm gonna have a few days off. I'm gonna come see you guys. Then he called a few days later and he goes, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going anymore." He goes, "So my uncle works in the hospital. He's like a tech or something, like a medical tech or something, which like he basically assists nurses and assists doctors or whatever. Like
Hmm.
they do the heavy lifting, right? Like if a patient needs to be transported to another room, like he'll come and help them, put them in the other bed, wheel them across the hospital and whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the job of a tech. So he was like, I'm not gonna go see you guys anymore because I've been in contact with a coronavirus patient that ended up dying.
Whoa.
So so there was that, right? That's one. So it's like it's a little removed, right? Like it's my uncle and one of his patients died of COVID, right?
That's
And
nuts.
so there's that. Now the other one is my cousin from France. When I first found out that France was on lockdown, I called my cousin, and I'm just like, "Hey, dude, like, what's up? What happened? Like, what's going on over there?" And he's just like, "Man, it's wild. Like, things are getting crazy over here. Like, the country just went on lockdown. We're not allowed to leave the house. We're at a stay-at-home order." And he's like, and so I was kind of poking fun at him at the time, and I go, "Hey, well, you got your rifles loaded, you got your guns ready." And he was just like, no, man, we're not allowed to own guns in France. You have to have like a special sporting permit. Like you have to be part of a club, and you have to use it for hunting or whatever. And he's like, it's a process. And so he's like, but I wish I did. He's like, honestly, like I wish I did have a gun right now. But in France, you're not allowed to own a gun. Which, that's another beautiful part about being an American, right? Is that we, as of right now, we still have the right to bear arms. But that's a whole other conversation. So, anyways, but somebody who lives in a country that's not allowed to bear arms is freaking out now and saying, like, man, I wish I could bear arms. Does that make sense? Because this is what happens, right? This is kind of how it works. And so, anyways, he tells me, he goes, I'm part of a church. He tells me. So my cousin is a pastor. Just for a little background, he's a pastor of a church, and he goes, I'm part of a group of six pastors, like two elderly guys, two like pastors, and then two youth pastors. So there's six of them total. He goes, one of our elder pastors has coronavirus and is currently quarantined in his house. And when we found out that he had tested positive, I had to have a whole meeting, and I had to call like the CDC of France, or he had to like do this whole thing. And then they immediately told him like quarantine the pastor, close down the church, no more church gatherings, nothing. And then he told me that another pastor that he knew from his same like organization had actually died of coronavirus.
Ooh.
So anyways, those are the stories to answer your question that I can't share. Do I know anybody with coronavirus? Not personally. All the people that I've heard of having it or that have died from it are one person removed from me so far. And hopefully it stays that way. You know what I mean? I'd hate to actually be connected to somebody that does die. I much prefer this one removed. You know what I mean? Like one person away from me.
Those stories are freaking crazy because I've asked several people if they know of anyone or a friend of a friend. That's insane, man. So people are actually dying, and people that are actually confirming that yeah, there's people dying and there's people being quarantined because people are actually catching this shit.
Yeah, man, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that as a whole, I think that as just as humans in general, I think that when we're faced with something like this, right? We often will go into a state of denial, right? When something really shocking happenings, we want to believe that it's not real or that it's not actually happening for the sake of our own well-being, our own maybe mental or psychological well-being. We don't want to freak out. We want to just like everything's all right. We're going to be okay. You know what I mean? And we don't want to freak out. And so I think that that's kind of what's happening right now. Now I think it's even worse in society today because of the media, because of video games, because of Hollywood, because of we're always watching these things. The point I'm trying to make is that we're desensitized. We're desensitized, and we're so used to seeing things happening to us that are far removed from us. You know what I mean? Like, oh, there's fires in Australia. Oh, there was a hurricane in whatever in Texas. Oh, there was an earthquake in whatever Chile. I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's an earthquake in Chile in a long time. But
Puerto
you get
Rico.
my point. Is that the point is that we're used to things not happening to us. And so I think that it's really shocking when it's actually happening to us. And this is a conversation I've been having with my family where I just go, look, I think that we're in denial, but I think that we're currently in a pandemic, and hopefully someday we get to say that we lived through it. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hopefully we get to say that we lived through a pandemic, because you hear these things, you hear older people, right, talking about like how they lived through the Great Depression. Like, well, I remember going through the Great Depression, like I remember I was a kid, or you hear things about people saying like, man, I survived an earthquake, like my wife's dad, he actually lived through an earthquake in Guatemala, a really bad one, destroyed everything, dropped their homes, everything. And so, he was telling us that. And so you're used to hearing those things, but it feels so weird when it's happening to you, especially when it's invisible. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I think that what we're experiencing right now is invisible. Like, it's not like a tornado that you can see tearing through your city. It's not like a hurricane that's blowing, the winds are blowing super hard and it's raining and there's hail and it's just a storm, right? It's not like that, right? It's not an earthquake where the ground is shaking and we're just all freaking out. Like, it's not a fire. You know what I mean? Like it's not a tsunami that's you know overwhelming the city, right, or whatever. Like it's not like that. It's invisible, and I think that that makes it even harder for us to believe that it's happening. I think that we're just like, well, I can't see it, and I'm not sick. I'm not coughing. I don't know anybody that's coughing or sneezing or has a cold or whatever. So maybe it's not real. I can't see it. It must
Mm-hmm.
not be real. You see what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know, man. That even makes it even scarier. That makes it even freakier. The fact that we can't see it because, like I said, we have no idea. We can't even assess the damage yet.
Yeah, and not only that, but like how you said, we're not used to seeing anything like that. It's invisible. It makes it seem so unreal, and we're not going to believe anything until one of our family members or somebody that we know and get concrete evidence that it's actually real. That's when people are actually going to be super scared. So I'm wondering, are we under preparing?
Uh, I think so, man. Like the question is, so this was something that I struggled with for a while. Where I was in that state of denial where I was just like, man, I don't think this is a real thing. You know what I mean? Like I think they're just blowing this out of proportion. And so I think that there's like there was a couple of different ways to look at it. I've now changed and I'm just like, no, this thing is real. And even if it isn't real, it doesn't do any harm to prevent, you know what I mean? To be cautious, to just play it safe, I guess is the point. You know what I mean? Like let's play it safe. Let's not let's pretend this thing's not real. Let's go for a cruise, let's go hang out, let's go do jujitsu, let's go work out together. Like, no man, we need to treat this thing like it's a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Um and so to answer your question, like are we under preparing? I think so, man. I absolutely do think so. And I think that we're all being really optimistic that like I said that this isn't as bad as we think it is, and that this is going to go away a lot quicker than we think it is. You know what I mean? Everybody is like everybody's hounding the Trump administration right now and saying like when can we go back to work? When can our kids go back to school? When can we this? When can we that? When can we that? You know what I mean? So you can imagine what it's like to be the president. This is not in defense of President Trump. It would be any president. Even if Obama was president right now, he would be getting hounded by all the same questions. But I think that it's a really complicated question. I think that it's a really complicated thing. Like how do you decide? How do you say, okay, next week we're going to open everything up? I was like, I don't think it's that simple, man. I think it's actually a lot more complicated, and we have no idea. We literally have no idea. And like I said, Americans are so used to freedom, are so used to having the freedom to do whatever they want that a lot of people just aren't taking it serious. A lot of people are still, I had to drive to my parents' other house today, and on the way there, I saw people jogging, walking their dogs. I saw two guys playing basketball at a basketball park on a court at a basketball park, whatever. And they're following the guidelines or whatever, like less than 5 people or whatever. You can walk your dog as long as you don't get 6 feet or closer to people, whatever. But like I said, I just don't think that people are taking this serious enough. I think that a lot of people, in fact, are maybe even taking this like a vacation. And it's just like, no, man, like this could be really bad. Like this could be really bad. Even if it only killed, let's just say, and I say only, you know what I mean? Because of course we're hearing some crazy numbers, right? We're hearing a possible 300 million people could die. You hear numbers like that, and you're
Yeah.
like, what? It's crazy. But let's just say that even if 2 million people die, and 2 million people is still an unfathomable
That's
number of
insane.
people dying,
Yeah.
but it's much smaller than when you hear numbers 350 million or so on and so forth. But even if just 2 million people die, that would be more than people died in World War II, say.
Yeah,
You see what I
that's
mean?
yeah, that's nuts.
Like, that's insane, right? Like, think about that. Like, think about that. Even after Hiroshima and even after Nagasaki and all that stuff, like, it would still be less than all the people that died then.
That's crazy. That's
Like,
ins-
that's insane.
yeah.
You see what I mean? And that's just on the low end of things. Like I said, that's just talking 2 million people, not talking the 350 million people, the 400 million people that the WHO, the World Health Organization, or the CDC are saying could happen if we don't take precautions.
So
And so
should
I just
people?
don't
Yeah.
think that people.
Yeah. Go
What's
ahead.
that?
No, go ahead.
I just don't think that people are understanding that. You know what I mean? Like if this thing is real and people are really dying, then this could get really bad really quickly. And if you talk to people in the health community, if you talk to people that are nurses, that are doctors, that are, you know, they're just like, no, this thing is real. People are actually dying. You know, my friend Tate, he was telling me that he's got a friend that's a nurse in New York, and she's just like, yeah, like we had 4 people die today, which was yesterday, you know, of corona, you know, and so she's like, people are really dying.
Dang.
And she was saying she was feeling sick, and that she was going to get tested today.
Ooh.
So, you know, I don't know, I haven't spoke to him, but maybe I'll send him a message and be like, hey, what's up with your friend? Did she test positive? You know what I mean? But the point is that again, there are really people dying from this whole thing, man. Like, and I don't know if you read this, but they're saying that they found an elderly home or a nursing home in Spain that had 20 dead elderly people in it and 75 contaminated people in it. This nursing home, but it was abandoned. All the people that worked there abandoned ship and just left these old people to die.
Wait, so there's 75 people left infected and left the 25 elderly. Oh, shit.
And 20 people dead they're just basically dead in their bed.
And that's just one case.
That's in Spain, yeah.
Are those 75 people quarantined themselves, or are they out and about?
No, I mean these are elderly people who, some of them can't care for themselves. Like some of them, you know what I mean? Like some of them can't even move and stuff like that. Like I'm sure the ones that are surviving are the ones that are able to kind of somewhat care for themselves. But we're talking about people who are in a nursing home for a reason.
Jesus.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Damn.
Like you don't get put in a nursing home usually unless, right, you can't help yourself.
Or unless your kids don't like you.
There's that too. But you know what I mean? Like, and then I read this one could be on the conspiracy end of things, right? Like this one's not the one I just shared with you, that's not fake news. That you could Google that and you'll find that, and the government, the Spanish government even addressed it at this point and everything. Like that's some real stuff. But this next one is a video of a woman in China claiming that they're burning patients alive in China. Like if you are over 70 years old and you have coronavirus and they go, hey, you're not going to make it. Like you're too old. Like we don't have enough beds. Like we don't have enough medical staff. Like you're not in a good spot. They are zipping these people up and sending them to be cremated alive.
Holy
that's what
shit.
this lady was claiming.
There's a mess.
And
yeah.
that sounds insane, but we're talking about China here. You know what I mean? Like the Chinese government is nuts, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're like if there's a government in today's world that we would say would do something like that, it would probably be China, and maybe like North Korea too. You know what I mean? Like those are like the two countries that I could see doing something like that, where they go, hey, you know what? You're putting too much stress on the health community.
Yeah.
Let's just send this dude to the crematory or whatever.
So you're saying those are the two countries that resemble Hitler?
Man, dude, I don't know, man. That's for a whole other different kind of podcast. But I mean, yeah, man. I mean, definitely, like a dictatorship. I mean,
yeah,
sure,
no, it is.
I mean? Like,
yeah,
100%. Yeah, it's crazy.
So for all the listeners out there tuning in to the Fighting Skills podcast, you heard it first from Ruben Rivera, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu black belt. The COVID-19 is real. Prepare yourself. Stay indoors and be safe out there.
I make the girls go wild. I shut the whole club down. I make the loudest sound. Tell her you need my crown. Baddest of my hometown. Hey.